Good morning. Welcome to Walk Before You Run. I know I look a mess. That's okay. I'm getting ready to go get in a pool. And so I look a mess. But this morning, I wanted to talk about Ruth 4. I think for a while we might do all of Ruth. So I might go back and forth 4 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And so we'll see. But I want to talk about the method matters. And I was reading this because our Sunday school is doing Ruth right now. But I was reading Ruth and reading 2 and 3 and 4. And I thought about the method matters. It matters how you do things. It matters if you um, do it God's way. And so there were some things that I was reading about what Naomi was telling Ruth to do, and I was like, I don't know if that's the right way. But the more I read it and the more I uh, dove into it, I could see her method. But Ruth 4, it talks about Boaz. Now, Boaz was a relative of Naomi. And for those of you who don't know the backstory, you're going to have to go get your Bible, open it up, start at Ruth 1, and read so you can find out the backstory. I'm not going to go that much into it, but I will tell you that Boaz was a kinsman of Naomi. And Naomi was moving back home because her husband died and her sons died. And so she went back home and she had lived this Christian life in front of her daughter in law, whose name is Ruth. And Ruth was so taken by Naomi's relationship with God even through adversity. And so when Naomi got ready to go back home, Ruth went with her. Now, go read the rest so you can find out what else took place. But anyway, Ruth went home with her, and so now it's not like days that we live in where if you you go through some circumstances that kind of put you at a disadvantage, you go apply food stamps or welfare or Social Security or something. But that was not the case back then. And so they moved back to Naomi's hometown. And Naomi, if you go back to chapter 3, Naomi is trying to figure out a plan to get Ruth married because she uh, loves her so much and is so appreciative of Ruth loving her so much to even come back with her to help her out. And so they Naomi tries to tell Ruth how to kind of get a husband because she tells her that Boaz, when she finds out that Ruth is gleaning or going to Boaz's um, crops to go and get food, she tells her, well, that's our kinsman. And back during those days, if someone was widowed, then the family of the husband was supposed to take care of you. Someone was supposed to marry you. If you had a brother, if the guy had a brother, the brother was supposed to take you in, marry you, and have a child with you for his brother's inheritance and heritage. And so that was the custom back then. And so uh we will talk about how they got to this place later. But Naomi is trying to tell Ruth, what she can do to try to see if Boaz will marry her. And so Boaz is interested in her. He notices her. He knows she's a foreigner, uh, that she's from Moab, but he looks at her lifestyle. He sees that she has a relationship with God, And so he's impressed with her. And so in chapter 3, he kind of takes care of her. So in 4, um, Boaz goes to the gate of the city. Now, the gate of the city was a place that didn't have walls, but it might have a roof or covering. And so they would go to this place where everybody would be, people would be passing by. And so what they would do is they would do business there, legal business transactions. And so Boaz goes to the gate of the city, and he looks for this kinsman because Boaz is kin to Naomi, but he's not close enough because when Ruth's husband died, so did his brother. And so there was no brother to marry her and help her. So in chapter 3, Ruth lets Boaz know her situation and that she would be interested in being in the land of Naomi and the property and everything that's Naomi's being redeemed. And so Boaz tells her to go home, go with Naomi, just chill and wait. And so Boaz knew that the method does matter. He wanted to do things right. He knew that there was a person who was closer kin to Naomi than he was. And so he told her to just go wait. I got to take care of some business. And so Boaz went to the city gate and he sat there. And just when he sat down, the closer relative comes. And so Boaz tells him, come over here and sit with me so that I can talk to you about something. And then Boaz also called 10 men to come and sit with them. Now, the custom was, and you can go to First King 2 and I think it's 2 and 18. I think that's where it is, or either 21 and 18. But he goes and he gets the witnesses because back then you had 10 witnesses. And so somebody couldn't say, no, that didn't happen. No, you have 10 witnesses. They all saw it. And so it's legal, it's binding. You came back out. So he calls them over, and Boaz tells the kinsman, he reminds him that Naomi had gone to the country of Moab with her husband, and she came back a widow, and she's selling the field that belonged to Elimelech, that was her husband, belonged to them. And so he's telling him, you can buy this land, and redeem Naomi. Um, and so the guy, the young kinsman, he's young, he says, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'll buy that. Because in his head, he's thinking, yeah, I can take care of, my elder, and then I'll have this land. That'll be great. And so after he said that, then Boaz continues with this addendum to this matter. And he tells him, he said, so I just want to inform you that you buy it in the presence of these men sitting here, these leaders. And if you wish to buy back the property, you can buy back the property, but you do not wish to buy back the property. Tell me, and I will buy it. And so the guy's like, oh, no, no, I want it. So then Boaz says, when you buy the field from Naomi, you will also assume responsibility for the Moabite Ruth, the dead man's widow, her son's widow. This keeps the inheritance in the dead man's name. Young man said, no, no, I changed my mind. I don't want to do that. He says that's going to mess with my heritage, for my lineage, for my children. I don't want to have a kid with somebody and then everything is for Naomi's son and for Naomi's heritage. He was like, no, I tell you what, you can do it. You can buy it back. And so the custom back then was, if if you made an agreement, legal binding, you want to get out of this, then you take your shoe off and you get your sandal and you give it to the person in front of all of these 10 witnesses. And I'm sure by the time they had gotten to this point, it was more than just those 10 witnesses paying attention. I'm sure everybody who was passing through the city gate, when they heard what was going on, probably stopped and was paying attention. And so he has all these witnesses saying, "Nah, I don't want that. You can have it. You can buy it back." And so this was the way that it used to be. And so I'm reading from the Bible. It says, "Then Boaz said to the leaders and to all the people, 'Today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all that belongs to Elimelech and all that belongs to Chilion, which was her son, and his wife. When he died, she went back home. And to Malon. Malon was Ruth's husband. In addition, I have bought as my wife the Moabite Ruth, Malon's widow, to keep the inheritance in the dead man's name. In this way, the dead man's name will not be cut off from his relatives or from the public records. Today, you are my witnesses." And all the people who were at the gate, including the leaders, said, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make this wife who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, both of whom built our family of Israel." So they're saying, may the Lord bless her life so that, she didn't have any children with Malon before he died. And so they're saying, may God bless her so that she will be fruitful and you guys will have this house full of children. And Boaz was an older man, so I'm sure he is excited about the prospect. He didn't care what it was going to look like on paper. He didn't care that the heritage was going to be for Malon, but he was going to love this woman and bring up these children as his own. Didn't matter what the heritage was going to look like. And it wasn't like Boaz was this struggling guy. He was well to do, he was very established. And so he already had his. And so this land that was going to forever be in Naomi's family was fine with him because he already had his own. But he wanted to take care of Ruth. Ruth, and you have to go back and read 1 through 3 to see her method that mattered. She did things according to what was right, what God would favor. And so when we do things the right way, everything is going to work out right. Everything is going to work in our favor. We're going to find that we have both favor with God and with man. And so I just love this particular part of Ruth. I love the whole book, but I love this particular part of Ruth because it shows that you do it God's way and you can't lose. You can't lose. Now, there were some things that Naomi was telling Ruth to do. I was like, wait a minute, Naomi. But I understand that she was trying to tell her what to do that would put her in a position to for Boaz to want to make a move forward without compromising her integrity. And so that's what we have to do. Whatever we do in life to move forward, just make sure that it does not compromise your integrity because the method does matter. And when we do it God's way, we'll be blessed. We'll be blessed of God and we'll find favor with man. Boaz and Ruth found favor with God and man. They were praying that they be blessed, that their house be blessed. And when we do it God's way, we'll find that people are praying for us as well. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this helps you. Go back and read Ruth. And when you see me again, we're probably going to dive right back into Ruth again. I'll see you next time. Remember that we are all blessed so we can be a blessing to someone else.